right, so next up is the panel talk with the topic, the rise of made-up identities. AI machine learning is getting better and better, and malicious third-party strangers are slowly realizing the potential of these technologies. How can this be countered in the IOTA ecosystem, or maybe even in the whole blockchain DLT world as well, in general? And for those, we've invited 4 speakers, which we will just get into the room right now, I would say. Hi, hello everyone. I think only Arthur's missing. There he is.
Hello.
So no technical issues this time around. That's a good thing to see. First of all, do we maybe want to do a little introduction round from every speakers? I mean, 2 people we already know, but for the people that just joined in for the TangleCon day 2, we might want to repeat that one. Maybe you can go first, Jasvin.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody again. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jasvin, and I am originally a computer engineer many years ago, programmed storage area networks for HP. This was much before the cloud wave hit us. And but the many years after that, I was working in the automotive industry, strategy consulting, in the domain of digital transformation topics. And as all of us know, even an archaic industry like automotive was going through a very interesting time in terms of smart mobility, autonomous driving. So I had the great fortune of working on those kind of topics. The first time enterprise blockchain really caught my attention was when we were talking about also the concept of sharing energy from electric cars over the blockchain. But the last 3 years, I've kind of deep dived into the Web3 blockchain ecosystem, building with the builders in hackathons all over the world. And with bridge.the.NEXT, which is my company, my goal is to set up a Think and Do tank, which is thinking about connecting systemically the different digital trends that we have at hand today. I truly believe that we are in the stone age of the digital age, and that's why I'm very happy to be here and talking with you on this relevant topic.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, maybe we go with Regina.
Yes, hello. Nice to meet you. My name is Regine, and I was working previously at the IOTA Foundation as the Director of Market Strategy. Together with Olga Köther, we run the market adoption team of IOTA. And last year in November, we stepped out and founded a for-profit entity with the name Spice5. And with Spice5, we are now focusing on accelerating the market adoption of IOTA and the blockchain technology. So we are reducing the complexity of the technology by making it as simple as possible for enterprises to integrate it in existing technology stacks, by offering the technology as a service, by creating APIs so that it should be really simple as possible to use this technology, because the user experience for normal people, I would say, with normal background, I would say like a normal developer, someone who's not so deep in the whole technology, it's still a little bit complicated to understand and to use. And here we are stepping in and we are providing educational material, but as well the technology ready, plug and play. And so we think we can really serve very much to bring IOTA out of the community ecosystem in a broader ecosystem, and also to accelerate the adoption very much. So that's our challenge and our mission right now. And I'm looking very much forward to talk to you all about a challenging topic, an interesting topic of this panel.
Thank you very much. Pietro, you can go next.
Hello again, for those who were not here yesterday, and to the other members of the panel. My name is Pietro. I'm a research scientist at the IOTA Foundation and a research fellow at Imperial College London. My background is in control engineering. I worked in machine learning for quite a while now. It's practically my second topic of research, together with cryptocurrencies. My introduction to cryptos happened in 2018 when we stumbled upon the the Tangle, the IOTA of the IOTA Foundation, and we got quite interested in analyzing its properties from a dynamical system point of view. And yeah, I mean, I do not want to go again too long into my presentation. I did that yesterday already. I'm really happy to be here and to be able to participate to this panel and this discussion today.
Thank you very much. I think we will have a nice discussion on that topic. And last but not least for the introduction, we got Arthur Pichl, my colleague.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. So, first of all, I'm really happy that I can be here today. And as Danish already teased, I'm also working at By5 as a DLT developer. I originally have a background in molecular biology, but over the years, I kind of changed into coding. And when I discovered IOTA in 2017, I kind of fell in love with it and kind of have been sticking to it since then. And now I'm working at By5 from Vienna as a DLT developer.
Thank you very much for this quick introduction. So, all of you came for the one topic that we want to discuss today, which is the rise of made-up identities. I think you, Jasvin, even brought it up yesterday on the last panel talk, gave a little teaser for the audience today. And basically, we are talking about what are the dangers of let's say, AI or machine learning technology that has been made open source towards the general public, right? Questions like what are the potential risks associated with the rise of made-up identities and so on, and how maybe blockchain or cryptocurrency technologies can avoid or mitigate those risks, right? So I would just start the open discussion. And I'm really looking forward on the topic because it's a very exciting and interesting topic at that.
Yeah, maybe I start. So I think this kind of identities provide risk, but also benefits. And like this, identities can create more privacy for users on the one side, but on the other side, when it comes to interaction with, when users are interacting with others, they don't know exactly who is behind of it. And here we need to install a more trust technology or process, whatever, which helps to identify these identities and to make sure that you can trust them. And the sources and the data which is coming through these AI bots or whatever is also something critical because you don't know where's the source. Is it really coming from this AI or is it coming from somewhere? And so on the one side, these identities, as I said, can help users to protect their privacy, but on the other side, it could also create a lack in trust, and so it could also damage the reputation of blockchain somehow when it's used for fraudulent activities. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was something that even Jasmine was talking about. I think you gave a rough statistic on how many accounts are actually bot accounts, right? So about 60% or so you were stating, right?
Yeah, so we always say that, and we take pride in the fact that there are 5 billion internet users worldwide, but 60% of them are actually bots. And Web2 has been struggling with this problem for the longest time. And of course, there are also Web2 technologies that are catered or working towards solving this issue. But I feel that with the influx of AI in the way it has happened at the moment, it's going to exacerbate the issue, because with the proliferation of deep fakes, and we all saw those fabulous pictures from Trump, and and the Pope wearing this Balenciaga jacket, and of course the Pope can afford that if he wanted, but the question is, where does it stop? And in the Web3 space, we do have, thankfully, technology that can help counter that. So if you look at the aspect of digital signatures, and as a matter of fact, I do know There are a few VCs, very established ones, who have already started, investing in a public cryptographic address, and then combined signing off any content that they're pushing out into the social media space with those, connecting it with that public cryptographic address, and always signing off with their private keys. That might be the way that we would be always doing stuff in the future. Also with the concept of zero knowledge proofs, which is of course not a new technology, but using that in order to safeguard private data, especially medical data, for example, from users, to be able to make sure that that doesn't land up on a public blockchain. There as well, zero knowledge proofs can be essentially necessary. So I think the one of the things that bothers me about the current infrastructure with regards to AI is the centralization of it all, and it is going to become more and more prevalent. But if you do look at decentralized computing, which also can happen on the blockchain, of course, it has got massive, I would say, challenges with regards to the training speeds. But if one could, create proprietary models which are, you know, slice and diced, models, and not humongous ones, there as well, blockchain can offer a way towards decentralizing the whole AI ecosystem, which I think is going to be essential for the future.
If I may jump in exactly from that point, I actually love that you mentioned decentralized AI. I think that word started happening and coming around as connected to blockchain. I think from 2019, 2018, people started actually really talking about decentralized AI, and I believe that's one of the most interesting topics that are out there in terms of like how to connect AI and blockchain alike. I think there are two big orders of problems when it comes to AI, as Jasvin was mentioned. There are certainly the self-made identities, but there are also the issue of harvesting data from people around, and harvesting data of people around. I mean, we've had like so many scandals recently. Cambridge Analytica, Nightingale, when Jasmine was talking about the data, the medical data being passed around by companies like Project Nightingale was definitely one of the biggest one out there. But like 60 million Americans had like their data on a Google server without their name obscured, and literally their whole medical record in the open, which is absolutely stunning to think about. And so yeah, I actually really like the idea of the having blockchain and DLTs technologies in general to enter the field of AI for mainly two ways. The first one is allowing for credentials when it comes to taking sensitive data like individual medical data, companies having to ask permission to the individual to actually get those data and to use them. And on the second on a second level, it's really interesting. Like currently, like I think there are like 5 or 6 companies that can really afford to build models like ChatGPT in the world. Like I think there is like I don't know, Google, Microsoft, like in the West at least. There are like literally 5 or 6 companies that can afford to do that. And as Jasmine mentioned, there is a real danger in the decentralization of AI. There is no ethics in the way these models are trained. ChatGPT is what it's currently estimated at 22 billion or something like that. ChatGPT was literally built thanks to the effort of like um, people in Kenya that were paid $2 an hour in order to ChatGPT was abusive, was insanely abusive up to a couple of years ago. I mean, it was trained on the internet, right? The school was almost certainly the internet. So one can imagine how abusive the model was. And people in Kenya were paid $2 an hour in order to train and click on the model and interact with it. And yeah, I believe that blockchain can be a tremendous way to prevent us from actually having to deal with these insane issues, and to actually move the business model and the ideas of the systems away from the profit for these huge companies and actually back to consumers and to people who actually end up using them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you were just saying that it's centralized, right? I think there was even that one tweet from Elon Musk. Of course, not everyone likes him, but he definitely stated a point. I mean, with OpenAI, right, ChatGPT, he was heavily invested, but Microsoft decided he was invested because he wanted to keep it open, OpenAI,
Yeah.
right?
Now it's
But then
closed.
Microsoft, yeah, now it's closed. Somehow open source closed, and because it's Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, maybe just, and I don't want to, because we still have a panelist who's not spoken, but to that point, and I don't know if I don't want to push any conspiracy theories here, but I don't think it's a conspiracy theory because there is some business sense to it. Eventually, there is this hypothesis that AI wars are actually, in effect, cloud wars, because it will be about how centralized data infrastructure, which a Google Cloud or AWS or Amazon, all these companies are offering, even Azure from Microsoft, because eventually our dependency on AI will be dependent on these very centralized data centers. And I have my origins in this space, and I know how massively energy intensive they are, how huge these infrastructures are. And there is a theory which is actually saying, while we are concentrating on this whole AI wars, and everybody's like, oh, Sundar versus Satya, and all the people are going crazy with their baskets of popcorn, there is actually an underlying war that is happening on the cloud space, because that's the expensive part of the equation, where these companies are earning massive amounts of money. Any company that would want to go into the AI space will need to have its own proprietary centralized data infrastructure where they keep things safe. And there they will have to invest heavily into these cloud spaces. So yeah, without pushing this narrative, but that's something that we should perhaps think about, that while we are a bit distracted, it's actually infrastructure wars, cloud infrastructure wars.
I mean, it sounds cool, right? The cloud wars, but definitely, I mean, I'm fully there on you. I mean, they tried to get a monopoly on this, infrastructure settlement layer, also, if you want to call it. But yeah, Arthur, you weren't talking so much until now. Do you have any ideas on?
Yeah, I just wanted to also maybe add that this is not only like a future problem we have right now, so that there could be a rise, or it's rising now, but we already can see it with, I don't know if you followed The Guardian, but they recently just discovered that some company that Advanced Impact Media Solutions is actually already using AI to create up to 30,000 fake profiles to infiltrate elections on the whole continent of Africa. So it's already here, and we have to take actions now and not put it into the future. But yeah, as I said, it's already happening and it's here, and we have to seek some ways to get more regulations and work with standards like TV3 standards to counter these problems that could actually be a danger to democracy as we know it.
Yeah, but here also blockchain can really help to create trust. And I think this is a technology which is very urgent needed to have a trust layer in the AI, I would say, so that we can, by installing maybe digital identities, that we have more trust when it comes to the data sources, the data authenticity, and so that we really should have a look more deeper into that, combining DLT with AI, because I think this is the perfect technology to solve a lot of these issues here. And I think also, like when it comes to the cloud wars, I think there is a lot of capacity needed for the AI, and I'm sure also when it comes to more data security, more and more companies, they would like to have a more decentralized solution for this infrastructure, because it causes a lot of problems when you have your service in one country. Just look at Ukraine war. If you would have your server in the Ukraine as a company, it caused a lot of problems. And the security issues and the security demands, data privacy, all of that creates a demand for decentralized infrastructure. I think this is the race of the blockchain infrastructure, because we would need this trust layer more and more.
Like, if I may, exactly on that regard, I find that Like I completely agree with Regina here. It's like the trust, that trust layer on the AI, like aside from being able to see whether or not somebody is a legitimate AI, like AI model, let's say, so a legitimate AI model that, for instance, was deployed on a like somewhere, and that whose code is in the blockchain. There is I don't know, an NFT associated with a very specific model that operates on the blockchain that one can verify and see exactly how it works. The What I also find interesting is that AI, like blockchain, can prevent issues that are not only regarding identity but also regarding how the models are trained. Like they can certify, for instance, like bias in data is huge in blockchain. For the audience, as an example, I think in 2020, um, 3 people were arrested in the US because the US court was using a face recognition system that had been trained exclusively on white people's faces. The 3 people were clearly black, and yeah, they were arrested as if they were the perpetrator of the crime that was committed. And right, and that's because the system, like the data set that are used, are completely well, they're opaque. First of all, like as Jasvin and Regina and everybody else was mentioning, the data sets are opaque. We cannot know on what model the data has been trained. There is no transparency there. Transparency there. We cannot see the model. We do not know what the system is, which is another huge issue. And then again, there are no ways at the moment to certify where the model comes from. If the model is a legitimate model that has been used somewhere else, if the model has been deployed safely on a decentral on a DLT that allows us to say, hey, yes, this model was deployed there. Therefore, we know who made it, where it comes from, how it's being used. You can trust that the execution of this system is in fact secure. And yeah, like that like creating this safety net around around AI is absolutely. I feel it's one of the best use cases that I've seen for DLTs up to this point. To be honest, I think it's a really amazing use case for DLTs that we haven't really tapped enough into. And yeah, I strongly believe that decentralized AI will become one of the main buzzwords in the next 3 or 4 years, exactly because of that.
Yeah, I totally agree what you said. Just building on that, and yeah, we are now looking into when it comes to supply chain. Everybody is demanding more transparency. Where are the goods are coming from? Are they really eco-friendly? Are they really like what it's on the packaging promise? So transparent supply chains, transparent product passports, whatever. This is a huge topic, and we should treat AI in the same way. So that's what you said. The origin of the data and where is the data coming from? It should be also like treated like that, a transparent AI supply chain, I to say in a way, so that we really know where it comes from. It's more transparent, and it's also yeah, maybe laid in a blockchain, so we can really look where it comes from and have a kind of a product AI passport, so that we can trust those systems a bit better. I know this is a huge demand because also like transparent supply chains are a huge challenges, but yeah, why not going in this direction? Because I think, as you said, it's a very serious threat, and we should treat it. And this could be a really good approach. I like this idea.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's just that in the current context of the way our infrastructure on the blockchain space is managed, we have this general challenge that for the training of ML models in a decentralized setup, you will end up being 10 to 100 times slower than doing it in a centralized setup. And that's one of the reasons why we have not seen a proliferation of decentralized AI in the way we would have expected. I mean, the concept of federated learning, wherein, you have your laptop, I have my mobile phone, and each of us, taps into a central system, trains our local models, our data belongs to us. It's existed since the 90s, but somehow we've not been able to build on it because centralized agencies tend to always have a cost advantage. And at the end of the day, it's always a question of who's offering you a cheaper infrastructure. And I think to solve that challenge in the decentralized AI space, one of the things we can build upon is this whole concept of, we have these proof of physical work ecosystems that exist. There are companies like Hive Mapping, Noodle. They are already engaging in that, where there's a dedicated community of people who are providing. I mean, there is infrastructure cost in there, that as well, but that is really built on the ethos of the whole blockchain Web3, ethics of composability and all that. So we could build on top of that. There are certain companies that I know of, like, for example, Modulus Labs is doing amazing work in the direction that Pietro was mentioning. If you're talking about inferring from proprietary ML models, how do you work with that? They are working in that privacy space. There are companies like BitTensor who are also working with, in the decentralized AI ecosystem. I think what has changed the game for me a little is on May 7th, we passed the ERC 6551 Ethereum token standard. If you guys are, if you're not aware of it, do search it. And that is, I think, a game changer. It just blows my mind that it's coming at this time. So ERC 6551 is basically proposing issuing smart contract wallet to every ERC 721 NFT out there. Now, this is, why it blows my mind is we're talking about AI agents. People are saying, with Auto GPT, Baby AGI, they're coming up with these AI agents where AI agents are going to communicate with each other and they are going to decide. And that's where the ethics topic even becomes more important, like Pietro said, because what if they're trained on the wrong model? Then they're only going to work on those, wrongly confined biases. But now imagine every AI agent on the blockchain has its own wallet because it doesn't need a KYC with a standard bank. Where do we stop? And that's why I think with the Web3 ecosystem, we've created an infrastructure which is both a blessing and a scary thing. So we need to stand up and rise up to the occasion and control and establish guardrails here. Otherwise, with these open source standards out there, a smart, sentient AI agent might be able to change the game in the future. I don't want to paint a dystopian picture, but I'm just saying, like, we need to establish guardrails and be a little more realistic about our ambitions in the Web3 space with all this.
Yeah, definitely. If I might jump in on that front, I was actually researching the topic myself as well, and I think there are even some white papers drafting out some proof of what was called proof of learning protocol, basically. So just the thing you were describing, Jasvin, prior to the ERC standard description. It's a very interesting topic, but like you said, it's still in its infancy, and people try to formulate it, because I think in this kind of system, you don't want to make any mistakes, because, like I said, it could potentially destroy the world if we really want to draw the dystopian picture, right? I mean, even the same with the AI models. The issue with those are that you can't really look into the model, into the code. It's like essentially a black box, which you just have to trust that it works, right? So, and even I think the whole ERC talks that you were talking about, and NFTs are holding wallets as well. I think that is something that IOTA already has implemented, for instance. Yeah, right. And yeah, I mean, I'm just I like the topic, and I just get so many ideas just by listening to you. Thanks again for the talk, and yeah, maybe Arthur, you want to add something to this conversation as well?
Yeah, maybe. I think one important topic as well is that if you could consider artificial intelligence, like a decentralized version of it in Web3, you always have to consider that it has to be also be able to compete with centralized AI. So that's one point you always have to consider as well. So if you have a party that is misusing AI to create fake identities, and you want to compete with this AI that's creating these tools to make these identities, and you're using a slower version that is decentralized, and then you cannot compete, then it probably wouldn't work. So it has to be kind of an arms race as well that you have to consider.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're talking all about fake identities, but there's also the other danger of what about impersonating people, right? Because we got some AI models. I don't know if you saw the news lately, but I think you guys were also touching on that point as well. Deep fakes, fake imagery, right? You're even now able to copy or synthesize the voice of a person only with 15 seconds of a voice clip. I think we're all too much talking only about the issues that could arise by faking identities, but we didn't talk so much about the problems that could bring like identity theft or stuff like that, right? Because maybe another example that I saw lately was a mother got called by some muggers, right? And they were using AI to clone the voice of the daughter of her, right? And they were demanding to pay upfront and stuff like that. And she almost paid it to free her daughter. And I think the only thing that saved it was when she came downstairs from her room and asked what the whole commotion was about, right? So that's definitely a thing that we should also be keeping in mind. And I think we were touching on that point. Digital identity and stuff like that could definitely help mitigate this risk. But what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it could definitely, digital identity could help, but also like NFTs, if or yeah, licensing on on the blockchain could help, because then you would have like metadata, which would be combined with the digital content piece, and so you can identify if this is a original source or not. So this could help a lot. And I think there are technologies out there which can solve this problem. The problem would be that, therefore, to really install it, that we need a collaboration between technology providers, license holders, regulators, and industry stakeholders to come together to establish such standardized solutions. And this needs regulation, and we know that. You just said that, Jasvin, we are living in a stone age of digitization. I have sometimes also the feeling that the gap is really very big, and it's getting bigger between people who are very in the beginning of digitizations and some are very advanced. So I think this is a huge challenge to install that, but I think we need that, and we need to work on that, and it's the challenge we need to face and take. Otherwise, we cannot handle all these new technologies.
I actually, you're right on that. Like at the moment, like I was thinking about the monumental task that is actually ahead of us, in terms of like being able to standardize a system like that. Like the impersonating, like as Regine was saying, it's the impersonation. I feel like from a digital perspective can be solved. I would say, I don't want to say rather easily, but at least from a theoretical standpoint, I mean, all it takes is when you interact with somebody, you want to check that you're accessing that the other person's wallet, and the other person's wallet is giving you authentication of who you are. But wow, the level of like how behind we are, before achieving that. Jesus, and how much faster this technology is going. Like how faster. Like the truth is, blockchain. Truth to be told, I don't know the exact numbers, but I don't think that the amount of investments in blockchain could even hold a candle to the amount of investments in AI currently. I'm not sure if somebody has a figure in that regard, but I am. I would be surprised if that was the case. And yeah, it is even scarier if one actually thinks we are in the stone age of of Web3, but we're probably in the Iron Age of AI. AI has still a long way to go, and I mean we're going to see something pretty crazy happening in the next 10 years. At the moment, like I always use the comparison. ChatGPT, for how impressive it is, it's still a model that needs to run on an amount of GPUs that is probably as wide as a football stadium, and that consumes hundreds, like thousands and thousands of dollars per day of electricity. And I have the feeling that at the moment we're trying to build a smartphone as if we still had bulbs, and not transistors. And we're rapidly approaching a point in the future where we're going to miniaturize these things more and more, and we're going to be able to, well, I don't know how quick that will happen, but the comparison is always like ChatGPT is as big as a football stadium, and a cat has a brain this big that runs on 200 calories a day, and rather than the amount of computational power that it requires GPT to work. So, I mean, personally, I feel like that, like the big problem that we'll have there is the fact that one technology is progressing at a much faster pace than the other one, and the other one, even though we have a solution in mind, we have an idea of how the solution will the solution will look like. We are still pretty far away in that regard. Also because AI is practically unregulated, and blockchain will require regulation. Like we will need not only to catch up with technology, as Regina was saying, but regulation will also need to catch up, and that is even scarier, in my personal opinion, than the technology itself.
Yeah. And if I may just add to that, and I fully agree, I think what also perhaps keeps me up at night is the societal aspect of it, in the sense that our engagement with each other in the future is going to be a series of events and discussions about whether you are authentic or not. So, it's like in the legal system, typically you're not guilty till proven guilty. But in the new tech world, it would be like, or the new digital age, it would be like you are fake till the time you prove that you're a real person. Now, look at the kind of psychological effect that has on us as a society. We have always already blamed Web2 for the fact that our children are addicted, ourselves are also, to mobile phones. We are more emotionally detached. And now you're also playing in the aspect of trust into it. Now, of course, I'm going on a philosophical tangent here, but I think this is so crucial. And that's why if through the Web3 ecosystem, we can come up with services that take away this pain of, authenticating different, of course, this whole digital signature, private keys, at zero knowledge proof technologies there. But perhaps we need to bring in a service layer on top of it, which makes all of this so easy that then the default is I trust you till proven otherwise, and not vice versa. Because I think when I think about it, I don't want my son to grow up in these kind of, where everybody is distrusting each other. And it's like, can you prove if you're a human or not? Even us in this panel right now, I could be an avatar of some sort
Yeah,
talking to you guys. So,
that's true.
look at the amount of, sorry for my language, but sorry for my French, the kind of mind fuck is doing with all of us, right? We're distrusting each other by default. So, yeah, that's something as well.
Which is a great feeling. to trust
Yeah.
that by default. Yes.
I mean, like you said, we are still in the infancy of those technologies, right? And they will get better and better until we can't really distinguish what's fake and what's real. I mean, you were talking about it, Pietro, right? That technology is evolving in such a rapid, fast pace that we can catch up until we go to this point of, what is it called? Singularity, right? Where nobody really can tell what the future will be. And I mean, since Corona, right, all these technologies started to pop up from left to right, right? First with the holographic card, the transistor thing more on the hardware side of technology going up. Then we got blockchain technology. Everyone was in on that. Now we got AI. You were mentioning that it maybe is the most financed technology right now out there, because I think, what was it? ChatGPT did something like 5 million users in a couple of days, right? The demand is there, of course, and it's just mind-boggling to think that we are living in such an exciting time, actually, and we will have to fight so many, or to try to maybe control or regulate so much stuff that is going on, and it's just mind-boggling. But yeah, maybe you wanted to also add something to it, Arthur. I thought you were. I think no.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I also think it's really interesting because we really never lived in a time where we had two parallel technologies advancing at such a pace. Like we had this once before with the internet, where we had a huge jump in technology, and we also lost a lot of people that still cannot use the internet today. But what's really interesting, this time we have two technologies at the same time, so AI and crypto, but we don't really know where we will go to and what will happen in the next years. And this could also be a problem, of course, because we don't only have one technology we have to keep up, but it's two this time, and we don't really know where the path leads us now, which is it's also really amazing on one hand, but it's also kind of scary on the other hand. So it's really a unique time to be alive.
Yeah, and I think we need to lead the way. We don't know it, but we can design it, we can lead it, and I think this starts really with education, because I think there was a huge yeah yeah I was starting my career in the 90s, and I was building a service company which was building websites in the first time, and it was a challenge because nobody really understood, and it's still we have this gap, digital stone age in a way. I think it starts all with education, and we need to react fast. We need to teach that. We need to start with education with children, but also like having more educational offerings to society, because we don't know how to deal with these technologies. And I think here it starts with education. And I think here we can start and lead the way how to really use this technology. And also Jasmine said it's an ethical question, and I agree 100% as well. So we need to define those values. We want to live with these technologies and bring them into the society. And I think this is a challenge beside the technology itself and regulation, but also how can we really bring everyone into this, and not to lose too many people which are left out of this digitization.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with the focus on learning. The only thing I would add to it is also an equal focus on unlearning. I have kind of realized over a period of time, one of the challenges that we face in the Web3 ecosystem is that all of us who are crossovers, and most of us are, we bring in our legacy thinking from our previous jobs. And, people are so hell bent on trying to define what exactly are you doing in this space? Are you branding manager? Are you marketing manager, et cetera? Or are you a data scientist? And I always tell people, I said 20 years ago, the term data scientist did not exist. Why cannot we just let go of all these titles and try to start from scratch? Of course, the whole DAO movement is a step in that direction. But why can't we come up with new job titles or new ways of thinking? And I think for us as working at the intersection of AI and Web3, we need to bring lose all the baggage of our legacy thinking when we embark on this journey. Like make a line through the sand and say it's all done, whatever was done, and now just start from scratch. It sounds a humongous task, but I think it'll do us more good than harm if we just stop thinking in those old systems of thinking.
Definitely. I mean, that's a nice train of thought. But yeah, I mean, education, right? The same like with blockchain technology. Prior to that, there were a lot more of scams going on. A lot of more people lost their funds, the private keys, seed phrases, whatever. And yeah, definitely. I mean, education is definitely a good thing to do if you want to mitigate those risks, or at least let the broader public know about those topics, right? I mean, the same goes for AI. People think it's the all-you-can-do machine for you, right? That it has a logical input, maybe even an ethical or moral compass. But what it does, if you break it down, it just generates a certain output with a certain input, and it doesn't really know what it is saying. It just knows that it's a good behavior pattern if it gets something out in that way and in that order. But yeah, I really want to talk much longer with all of you, because it's such an interesting panel talk. But I think we have to slowly close it off to give Mariana opportunity to talk at the TangleCon as well. So I would maybe ask you guys if you want to say any last words to close this whole thing off, and then we will switch over to or transition to the next speaker.
I feel like Jasvin actually summarized like Regina summarized like the last, on the last point. I feel like one of the big challenges is also making the public aware that there are solutions. Like, a lot of people are terrified on AI for good reasons, and making the public aware that there are solutions in order to fix this, and to also put pressure on, and not only people, like talking to regulators, talking to people, and the regulators also have, like, they're terrified. Italy blocked ChatGPT for like for like 3 weeks. They have no idea how to deal with this stuff, right? And actually coming up with solutions directly to regulators and be like, hey, we actually have some ways of mitigating this. We can build something that can mitigate, at least partially, some of the immense issues that this technology will bring, and actually railroad it into a more society, like into a more into something that is more useful for society. It is something that is absolutely fundamental, and that I believe it's actually probably one of the main things that should happen, rather than researching. Like, we have we have the tools to work out and to kind of solve these problems, but yeah, I don't think that the public has even an idea. Like, as you mentioned, when people think about cryptos to this very day, they think about scam. Most people still call them Ponzi schemes, and that's the feeling that they have about cryptos, and they don't have a sense of what actually the technology can do, aside from being a way of payment. And yeah, it's probably a mistake on our side, in the sense that a lot of us have been focused on that aspect of on that layer two, on that layer one application that is like the payments. But yeah, definitely in what's to come, the burden is on us to actually shift the narrative and start talking about the DLTs as a web tree, as the communication backbone for the next internet, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Pietro, for those closing words, and I'm thanking the other speakers as well. Thank you very much for coming here today and sharing some of your insights. For the audience, make sure to check them out on the TangleCon website. Maybe follow them on LinkedIn or Twitter if it's supplied over there. And yeah, to the speakers of panel talk members, thank you very much, and we hopefully see us very soon again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you all.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.